In the far future, people must live in domed cities to escape the poisonous atmosphere of the outside world. Small pockets of paradise, but not all is what it seems. Even with all of its technological advancements, there is a corruption that is bubbling underneath that threatens to unravel the tranquility of the peaceful domed city of Rondo. Real Mayor is a detective assigned to capture or destroy the autonomous robots called autoraves that have become sentient and sometimes violently dangerous. But during one mission, she encounters a monster. It sets her on a path of discovering the truth about everything, from government corruption to gods and monsters, to the history of the planet and why they live in domed cities, and to why one seemingly unremarkable person named Vincent is so important. I won't spoil the ending for you, but the main twist becomes obvious early on in the series, and by the end of it, there is a sense that the show had more potential than what the writers actually realized. Ergo Proxy begins with a cool concept, kind of like Blade Runner, where Real hunts down malfunctioning autoraves. But when the monster shows up, there's this new mystery that overshadows everything. So the show leads you down one path, thinking it'll be about the government corruption and the secrets to the monster. But then it shifts gears and takes the characters outside of the city and out into the barren wilderness of the rest of the world. The majority of the series isn't even set in the futuristic city of Rondo, but in the journey that the protagonists, Real and Vincent, make in finding out the mystery of the monster. And actually, there are more monsters scattered all around the world. Monsters that have godlike powers. It's only around the last 3 episodes where any mysteries are solved, but even then it's too little too late, and much of what's said isn't really explained well. Things happen that aren't explained as well as they should have been, like characters appearing out of nowhere and suddenly being connected to Vincent and the monster as well. I mean, you'll understand what the writers were trying to do, but it just isn't written well enough to make sense. And when you have 23 episodes, there should have been enough time to flesh out the characters and lore. But instead, most of the series has Vincent trying to find out who he is since he erased his memory of his past. The writing tries to be deep and philosophical, but it ends up sounding like ramblings and filler, and a lot of the episodes are dream sequences brought on by other monsters messing with them, because the monsters all have psychic powers. It just comes across like the writers didn't really know how to flesh out this world, and instead of creating lore by showing, they have exposition dumps. Even a full episode where they're trapped in a game show that is solely an excuse to talk about the history and the lore that is important to the story. It comes out of nowhere and it isn't tied to any of the other episodes. It's like the story stopped just to tell you some history that'll be important later. I think there are better ways to talk about the history of the world and still make it feel connected to the story. But I wouldn't even mind the exposition dumps if I actually liked the characters. Most of the cast comes across as unlikable. Vincent's a whiny loser, Real's a cold princess, and Pinot, a childlike robot, is cute, but only in short bursts. Otherwise, it gets annoying. No one in this show is really memorable or likable, and by the end, when everything is falling apart, you can't wait for the show to be over. The message that the series is trying to convey is a simple one, just explained like a college thesis. They even throw in an allegory about God that quickly gets brushed aside since you realize that everything from the robots becoming sentient, to the monsters, to the actual humans, are all suffering from the same thing. The question of what is their purpose in life, which can be a great message, but the writing and the story doesn't do it justice. The art style is really well done and pulls you in, but once the story gets going, after the 5th or 6th episode, you'll wonder when the story is going to get interesting again, and even when it does, it's rushed in the last 3 episodes. And by then, some of the answers are glossed over, or not explained at all. I was left with questions that resonated with me for hours, trying to piece together what I watched. The show ends on a somewhat happy ending, but by then I was just glad it was over. I really wanted to like this series, especially with how it started, but in the end I felt like the show wasted time by trying to be so mysterious. Maybe the writers felt there wasn't enough plot to fill 23 episodes, but a lot of that time should have been with moving the story forward instead of saying the same things over and over. Who am I? What's my purpose? We get it. Can we just get on with the story already? Your writing is not as deep as you're trying to make it out to be. But with better writers, this same concept and plot could make for Ergo Proxy to becoming a classic anime. But as it stands, it's an interesting story that is really only for the curious anime fan looking for something new to watch. In any case, thank you for watching, and if you agree or disagree with my views on this show, let me know in the comments. This series was completely new to me, but I do know that it has its fans. So please like the video and subscribe for more anime reviews. Until next time.